Started in a little tiny rehearsal room with me and my director, and my husband had written a play many years ago, and he wanted me to read it, and it had all her quotes basically, and it was just her quotes in kind of organized by subject matter, and so we kind of culled it and wordsmithed it into her life story, and then we put 17 songs that she sings in her movies that kind of help propel the story forward. I had people sending me things from the vaults in, Universal Studios. People go, oh, don't tell anybody you have this. Now it's on YouTube everywhere. But so those were really carefully culled items and press conferences that she was in. Even audio at the end of her life, she did a wonderful interview, and that was just for Look magazine or Life magazine, and it was all just audio about the end of her life, and that was really helpful because that's the time that I portray her. You can see from some of the pictures, I don't know if you can see them, but in 1962, right before she died. So I was the Marilyn I really wanted was the one in her living room. So that's kind of where it started, and we spent 14 months in research and development and heavy-duty rehearsal. I think maybe when Jimmy James, I don't know if you know who he is, but he did Marilyn, an impersonation of Marilyn in the 80s, but he did it to art form. And I'm still going to school on him because the makeup design, the hair, everything is perfection. It really is, and you can still see him on YouTube. And he came to work with me and did my makeup. It took him 8 hours the first time he did my makeup. And he really helped me bring her to life and understand her after I'd done 14 months in research. Right. I think he went, I think you're going to do this. I think you're going to pull this off. Yeah. And I went, really? Are you sure? So I was always just terrified. I can't remember the time. I really identify with wanting to do really wonderful work. It's really important to me. I try to leave no stone unturned, and I think she had that zest for really creating something not just okay, and she didn't care if people got impatient with her or, they'd say she was hard to work with. She took take after take. I mean, it's notorious. You hear all the stories if you know anything about her. But you know what? Look at the result. And so it takes that extra effort, and I hope that I'm diligent in that respect. I want to be, anyway. To get it right, to do her justice is really the goal. And so I think I'm like her in the work ethic part of it, and I'm also like her in, I understand her, I empathize with her insecurities, I really do. She's tremendously insecure and needed everybody's approval all the time, and I find that I wish I weren't, but I am like that too. I like When Love Goes Wrong in the play because, I do it differently than Marilyn did it in the movies, and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, because they did, it was with Jane Russell, and they, when love goes wrong, nothing goes right, this, and in our play, she's just broken up with Joe DiMaggio, and she sings, when love goes wrong, nothing goes right, this one thing I know, and it goes into that, and I really love. It's such a well-written song. That's my favorite, for sure. Well, she's a trailblazer. You bet. And make no bones about it, she was a career woman of the 50s, and she did whatever it took just to get ahead, and that meant, for her, it meant sleeping around a lot, but to her, that was no big deal. Whoever got cancer from sex, she says that. I love that quote. Nobody ever got cancer from sex. You're judged by how you look, not by what you are. And that's true. I don't know that it's as true today, but it was then. It was part of her legacy, or not a legacy, but necessarily, I suppose, but part of her path for sure. It takes me 2.5 hours. And it takes me every second of 2.5 hours. if I don't, like, I have a new wig right now that I was telling you about earlier, you know, that we just ordered and had made, and you know, has the nice lace front, has everything, it has a nice shape, but it's new, so I'm struggling with it, and I don't have very much time to play with it on stage. I have a little tiny mirror that's about this big, and that's it. And I walk by it a couple of times, so it's just got to look good, and I don't have time to deal with it once I'm out there. So I'm struggling with that, so that takes me a little more time. So I'm about 2 hours and 45 right now, to be frank. And I put on some Frank Sinatra music and just go to town. It's kind of therapeutic, really. That makes me cry. But I would tell her how loved she is because she didn't think she was. So, isn't that terrible? That I've been doing this for 8 years. But I would tell her how well loved she is and how people just can't let her go. So, and how respected she is now, and she wasn't, and she didn't feel she was then. So, that's what. Sorry about that, but that's what I would say.